That looks good. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Kubijana Vallabha Giri Varadhari. Kubijana Vallabha Giri Varadhari. Gopijana Vallabha Giri Varadhari. Yasodanandana Brajjana Ranjana. Yasodanandana Brajjana Ranjana. Yasodanandana Brajjana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Girari Radha Girari Radhe. Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Jam Vishpad Paramhamsa Prabhujakacharya Shotarasata Shishimade Si Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki. Krantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Samaveda Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki. Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Budale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharne Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarane. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're getting to hear from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, 29th chapter, talks between Narada and King Prachinabarhi, text number 17. Bucked Alex cooking breakfast. Yata, yata, vikaryate, gunato, vikarati, va, tata, tatopadrashtatma, tadvritir, anukaryate, yata yata vikaryate, kriyate, yata yata vikriyate, gunato vikaroti va, tata tatopadrashtatma, tadvritir anukaryate, yata yata vrikiyate, gunato vikaroti va, tata tatopadrashtatma, tadvritir anukaryate. Go ahead. Yata yata vikriyate, gunato vikaroti va, tata tatopadrashtatma, tadvritir yata vikriyate, gunakto vikaroti va, tadvritir anukaryate, yata yata vikriyate, gunakto vikaroti va, tata tatopadrashtatma, tadvritir anukaryate, yata yata vikriyate, gunato vikaroti va, tata tatopadrashtatma, tadvritir anukaryate, yata yata, just as vikriyate is agitated, guna akrita, associated with the modes of nature, vikarati, as it does, va, or tata tata, similarly, upadrashta, observer, atma, the soul, tat, of the intelligence, vriti, occupations, anukaryate, imitates. Translation. Formerly it was explained that the queen is one's intelligence. While one is awake or asleep, that intelligence creates different situations. Being influenced by contaminated intelligence, the living entity envisions something and simply imitates the actions and reactions of his intelligence. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The Queen of Puranjan is described herein as intelligence itself. Intelligence acts both in the dream state and the waking state, but it is contaminated by the three modes of nature. Since the intelligence is contaminated, the living entity is also contaminated. In the conditioned state, the living entity acts according to his conditioned intelligence. Thank you. In the conditioned state, the living entity acts according to his contaminated intelligence. Although he simply remains an observer, he nonetheless acts, being forced by contaminated intelligence, which in reality is a passive agent. If we could pray, please. Omagyanatimarandasya Ginanjana Salakya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shiyata Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitam Sha Hey Krishna Karana Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhana Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakopa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today I'd like to explore how I might become intelligent. I was a little tempted to, when I read the verse in the short purport, and then I saw tomorrow's verses and 2-page purport. I thought, boy, there's a juicy one. That'd be a class to hear. Looking forward to it. But when I contemplated a little bit about intelligence, then I thought this is actually a very good subject matter for contemplation and discussion. Before we could answer the question, how can I become intelligent, we have to understand what is intelligence. It's stated in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he elaborates on it that every word has 2 meanings. There's the vidvad, rudhi, which is the materialistic application of sound and words, syllables, concepts. And then there's the avidvad, rudhi. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly, but it's the spiritual vibration. To the untrained ear, it may sound the same, but there's a world of difference. One is glorification of the Lord, which descends from the spiritual world. It's eternal in nature. It's purifying. And the material sound vibrations, they're conditioning, they're contaminated, they're simply being utilized by the conditioned souls in the human form of life to exploit the resources of material nature. So what is intelligence? Well, intelligence can be applied 2 ways. Basically, Srila Prabhupada explains intelligence is the way in which to deliberate upon something and to understand it. The mind let's go back to more of a root. There are 8 energies of the Lord and 8 separated material energies of the Lord. Bhumir apamano maya kamano buddha evacha hankari itiyame bina prakriti astada. So the mind and intelligence and the false ego, they're the subtle body. We don't see it, but we know we have a mind. It's not the brain. The brain's it's a complex machine, no doubt, but it's a muscle, really. It's an organ, and the mind is subtle. It can't be seen. It may be seen. There's some, you can see effulgence, or you can see auras or some. So that's some indication. And interesting enough, the subtle body is bigger than the gross body. It extends beyond the gross body. But it's the subtle body which we so closely identify with. Even in Krishna consciousness, when we cultivate transcendental knowledge that we're not the body, we still listen, depending at what layer of sadhana bhakti we're at, level of bhakti we're at. We can listen to the mind's demands. I like this, I don't like that. This has to be overcome. Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that the senses are superior to the body. And superior to the senses is the mind. In I believe it's the Katha Upanishad, this same verse or concept is given, but it begins with the sense objects are greater than the senses, because we're so captivated by the sense objects. Sight, smell, touch, sound, etc. Trying to enjoy that experience. So the 99.9% of the time, or at least for 99.9% of the human beings, the sense objects are greater than the senses. But the mind is greater than the senses, the intelligence is greater than the mind, and the soul is best of all. It's meant to be the controller of these energies that the Lord has given to us to use as we please in our own exploitive attempts to enjoy this world separate from His service, or to be used in His service. So the mind and intelligence are very closely related. With the mind, we see something, we like it or don't like it, we reject and accept. But with the intelligence, we're supposed to cultivate determination, we're supposed to cultivate awareness and understanding of things. One definition given intelligence, when Krishna is talking about these are feminine qualities. I wonder if I'll be able to find that real quick. Where he says that fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and penance. These are feminine qualities. Among women, I am these things, he says, in the opulence of the Absolute, 10th chapter, Bhagavad Gita. And Srila Prabhupada says, if after studying one can remember a subject matter, he's gifted with a good memory or smriti, and the ability not only to read many books on different subject matters, but to understand them and apply them when necessary, is intelligence, another opulence. So, in one place, it's explained that one shouldn't study a lot of books. First of all, in this age when most of us are less intelligent, we just become confused, or sometimes the motive for studying many books, even scripture, is to impress others with some knowledge, maybe something they haven't heard, etc. But to read and understand, that's intelligence. And just to put it in proper perspective, why I say I'd like to cultivate some intelligence. I wish I had intelligence. Srila Prabhupada was one time talking with leaders, senior devotees, GBC men. And he said, among all of you, Rameshwara Prabhu, he has a little intelligence. The implication was the rest of you, Now intelligence, it's not what most people take it to be. I mean, there is super intelligence out there. There are some people who can run circles around others in terms of understanding something, grasping it. But when it's utilized in exploitive ways because of the envy of the conditioned souls, then it's misguided. It's used harmfully against others. And when one is trying to cheat others or enjoy others, then actually that conditioned soul is working against their own self-interest. They're hurting themselves. You may get to enjoy sometime in this world in the position of king of the hill, top dog. But your next birth is not something to be envied. Even here in this tale given by this lesson given by Narada Muni, he's telling Prachina Barhi, that if you don't change your ways, you're going to hell. You're going to suffer in hell. That would be sobering. It's like our own Mr., I think I can say his name because he's a recipient of Srila Prabhupada's mercy. But Mr. Prakash was in the hospital and was in the process of leaving his body, obviously, because agents showed up to take him and his subtle body out of that gross body that we know, we see, we've reciprocated with for years. And they were Yamadutas. Scared the bejeebies out of him. No, I'm with Prabhupada. And they disappeared. And evidently, he says, it happened 3 times. This close to being dragged to hell. Just because we're chanting Hare Krishna and we're devotees, and Scripture says a devotee never goes to hell. Don't think that necessarily applies to a neophyte devotee. Mishra Bhakta. Pure devotee, chants the pure holy names, then you know that's a fact. Yamaraj would love to have his association, but he's instructed all his servants, those Yamadutas, don't you go near such devotees. I don't want to create Vaishnava aparad. They're not under my jurisdiction. They're under Krishna's and the shelter of their spiritual masters. So, great intelligence in this world. I mean, there are those who are actually pulling strings that influence nations. Nations. Hundreds of millions, billions of people. You're no slow or dummy to have that kind of influence and power in this world. You have great intelligence. But you're utilizing it in such a way that you're going to go so deeply into hellish punishments, they have no idea. And interesting enough, many of those people, like if we go to, what is it? The different types of intelligence or determination in the 18th chapter, that understanding which considers irreligion to be religion and religion to be irreligion, under the spell of illusion and darkness, and strives always in the wrong direction, O Partha, is in the mode of ignorance. Such people, Srila Prabhupada explains, in ignorance understand the great soul to be a common man, accept the common man as a great soul. They think they are that great soul, the people I'm referring to. And many of them, because of their poisoned intelligence and desires, they're not worshiping God, they're worshiping their concept of the opposite of God. Many such persons think God's a joke. I mean, the majority of scientists think that. I forget what that thing is, it's miles long, it was in a circular pattern, and they were looking for the God particle. Some kind of nuclear going down the atom. Do you remember what that was called?
Collider?
Yeah. Called a collider? But you know what I'm referring to. The material scientists, they want to find that God particle because they think they are God. They want that God particle invested in them. They want to control this world and everybody in it. These people are described as demoniac. So intelligence in and of itself, not something to be envied or aspired for. That intelligence can be the greatest way to drag you down in material energy, drag you down to lower species. Those persons with all the offenses and sins that they create and the influence of degradation they weave on masses of people, man, they'd be lucky to be a worm in stool. Lucky. Because there's a lot lower species than that. And what kind of punishments does it take? You're used to the refinement of gold, cutlery, and eating the finest foods and this and that, and enjoying the most degraded pleasures that you desire. And then you're forced to punish to become conditioned. That's like I mentioned yesterday with just one small comment, only because he mentioned my name, Mukunda. Very nice class you shared. But that's, like he was saying, punishment, but purifying. And purifying, the instrumentality of that is being forced, hammering, conditioning, molding that subtle body to identify with some kind of lowly microbe, some germ, some SARS-CoV-2 germ, bacteria. I mean, from the human form of life where you could transcend it all and escape, and this is where I want to make an addendum to the last class I gave, a correction. I said that Bhakti was the only way to get out of this material world. It's not. I was emphasizing and trying to glorify Shuddha Bhakti. It's the only way we can come to understand Krishna or please Krishna. I should have said it's the only way to permanently get out of this material world. Because Gyan and Yoga, when it reaches its perfection, you can go to Brahman. Or even yogis, it's more offensive, but they can even merge into the form of the Lord. Now both of them, they've escaped the prison, but it's a failed prison attempt, a prison escape. A failed attempt at escaping the prison because it's a temporary freedom they achieve. Because just like in this purport it says, intelligence is always active, whether you're sleeping or dreaming. Why is it always active? Because desire is the nature of the living entity, and we're always wanting something. And so, although intelligence is a passive agent, it actually does nothing, intelligence, in and of itself. It's an inert matter. It's controlled, there's a personification, but to us, for us conditioned souls, it's dead. It does nothing. It's only when it's activated by the desire of the jiva, the living entity, does it do its purpose, execute its purpose. It's kind of like a computer. You know, they have artificial intelligence in computers. What that means is they programmed it that has so much information. I mean, it's inconceivable, really. But it has so much information and can act so quickly that it appears as if there is life or intelligence in it. Like it is independent. And in one sense, you could give an example like... I forget who gave it. Somebody asked, do they still have those wind-up monkeys that cling the... who was that asked? Mars, yeah. He and I are showing our ages. Of course they don't. Those are cheap Chinese toys that, you could get when we were children. But you'd wind it up, and then it would do its thing. So it's the same way with the computers. You have a living entity has to program it and then turn on the switch. And then it will go and do its thing for however long it's programmed, however long the energy source is fed into it. But it's not independent, nor is it alive. Doesn't mean they can rack huge damage upon the planet. Not that they can't, that it's not a threat to life as we know it. There's so many things that the intelligent men of this planet, scientists, etc. Science is basically utilized in the service of military complex. That's what all scientific discoveries are. That's where all the money goes, etc. Primarily. And then some scraps of it come on out to us, the public. But anyway, intelligence, it's either good or bad. So when utilized in the service of the Lord, it's good. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mama piyantate. Buddhi yogam, Prabhupada in the synonym says great intelligence. In the purport he says buddhi, intelligence, yogam, mystic activities. There's one other word he said, mystic something, but mystic activities. Bhakti is very mystic. You can be the most intelligent man with the highest IQ and not have a clue about bhakti. It's like Srila Prabhupada said, if those people I'm referring to and their minions had realized who Srila Prabhupada was and what he planned on doing and coming to the West with the message of Lord Chaitanya, he said they would have killed me. Because basically Srila Prabhupada is wanting life and society as we know it to be turned upside down on its head. The world is not meant for my pleasure, the pleasure of my family, my community, my nation, even broad-minded. They talk about one world, as if that's some utopian concept. No, it's all meant for Krishna. We're meant for Krishna. You can have a peaceful life. You can have a progressive life. You can enjoy life. Prosperous life. No problem. The perfection of all those desires are found in serving Krishna. And that intelligence comes from the Lord. Jnanam aponam cha. Smritim, memory, and jnanam, knowledge. It comes from the Lord in the heart. But how do we connect with that? By hearing from His representatives. The famous verse which Srila Prabhupada took great inspiration from, Vyavisyatmaka buddhir ekaha kurunandana. If you utilize your intelligence to focus in, laser-like, this is what I want. The analogy of Arjuna, do you see the tree? No. Do you see the bird? No. Do you see the eye of the bird? Yes. He could shoot and hit the target. He was blessed by Guru to engage in the activity, shooting the arrow and hitting the bird in the eye hanging from the tree. If the devotee makes his spiritual master's instructions his life and soul, he can be empowered to do the impossible, greater things even than his spiritual master, greater than even the Lord. Srila Prabhupada is a perfect example. Buddhi. Vyavisagatmika buddhi, intelligence. This is real intelligence. And what's a symptom of one who possesses such intelligence? You could probably give many answers to that. Ramapa, do you have any idea? That's an excellent definition or symptom. Vijay Prabhu said, Srila Prabhupada says in the Bhagavad Gita, the ability to see everything in its proper perspective. I was thinking about a quote that Srila Prabhupada said, wherein many of us, if not most of us, think we're pretty intelligent. Maybe it's just me. But Srila Prabhupada said, where's the common sense? One who is intelligent knows how to apply the process, the activities, the standards of devotional service, and how not to. Like, what is that saying? Religion without philosophy can be fanaticism or sentimentality. Both of them. What else, Dravida? Yeah. Both of them very dangerous. I mean, I think you might have been the one who gave the example of the 4 classes, lazy, active fool. Worse. But these people who think they're the most intelligent pulling the strings, they're actually the fools. And they're active. They're very active. People are not in the state of Maya that we're in our lifetime to see the degradation through the television, spreading their message to the masses. Give up religion. Who needs that? Give up morality. Who needs that? Give up family responsibility. Who needs that? Just enjoy. And that so-called dangling carrot that they offer, which they're the instruments of Maya, it's just the modern context that I'm giving of exemplifying it, we become enslaved. Philosophically, we can say by our own desires and our own senses, and this intelligence kicked into, Prabhupada says proper use of intelligence in the nectar of instruction is always to be thinking how to spread Krishna consciousness. He says in the Bhagavad Gita that one can't have, how does it go? That one can't have happiness if there is no peace. And you can't have peace when there's not a controlled mind. When the mind is not steeped in transcendence and service to the Lord. It's a domino effect. You can't have it. And in the purport he says the mind will never be peaceful if it doesn't have an ultimate goal. Sense gratification there is no ultimate goal. The goal post always moves as you go along. The mirage just keeps going further into the distance the longer you chase it. Same with Gyan or yoga. It does not make one happy or peaceful. So we're slaves to the concept that if I can work hard and drink and get intoxicated for a weekend, and it's such a fool's mentality, a fool's paradise. And there are those who just laugh at it. People, these demons don't even think we're people. We're not even we're useless eaters, is what one such demon called the mass of people. Just taking up your breathing precious air. And that's why they want to kill so many people on the planet. This is the demoniac intelligence applied, simply meant for the destruction of the world. It's in the divine demoniac chapter. Horrible, unbeneficial acts. But Krishna consciousness, another symptom. I was saying common sense, how you apply Krishna. You know what another symptom would be? One who is most intelligent doesn't think he's intelligent at all. He considers himself a fool at the feet of his spiritual master. And Lord Chaitanya is the perfect example. My goodness, he defeated the Digvijay who had defeated everybody else. All the greatest pundits, intelligentsia of India. He had all the certificates of defeat to prove it. And he had all the accessories that go along with it. The fame and the money and the followers. Lord Chaitanya, as a young man, practically same age as you, Dr. Alex. He defeated this person. First time he just sat down in casual conversation. And the man realized, oh my God, how could I be defeated by this boy? I thought I had the blessings of Saraswati. That same Nimai Pandit, when he surrendered to his spiritual master, he relayed to Prakashananda Saraswati, I don't study Vedanta like you, sannyasis. My spiritual master said I wasn't qualified. He said I was a fool and I should simply engage in this hearing and chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. He followed that instruction for the rest of his life. That was his prime activity, following the instruction that he had received from Ishwar Puri. He practiced it personally and he shared it with others and inspired others to do the same. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, no question the greatest mind on the planet at the time. He was one of those Shrutidars that Vijay Prabhu made reference to. I mean, can you imagine? You hear something once and you remember it? Holy smokes. Amazing. Inconceivable for us. We read something just like I asked Ravita. You didn't look that up, did you? Ears, spiritual ear and material ear. Do you know which ear it is, Ramapati? Do you remember? Which ear is used for spiritual, to hear spiritual topics, and which is for material? Wait. Into the left ear. I was afraid that was the case. This ear. And was that the ear that we read previously about is the Deva? Is the ear? That was your verse. Did it say left ear for that? You can hear about the devas or you can hear about the pitas. Okay, it doesn't say which is which. But Ramapati Prabhu, and I'm going to repeat what he said, because I used my inference and my logic, which is not the valuable way to learn, the most important way to learn. It's subsidiary to Shabda Brahman, hearing from an authority. Why do we wrap the thread around the right ear? The thread, the Brahman thread, is considered to be non-different from the Ganga, and when the ear, let him have it, please, so I don't have to repeat.
So the Ganges flow in the Ganges flow in the ear, or the right ear, so we wrap around to keep it pure when you go to the bathroom or in pure place.
And why does the Ganga do the right ear? Any idea? That's the proper thing, to accept what we've heard even when we don't fully understand it. And in the instance of intelligence, sitting at the feet of the spiritual master and learning from him, being given the blessing of devotional service to become intelligent, is to ask questions. There's a period where you should be very critical or analytical in trying to understand, is this a person that I want to give my life to? Is this philosophy and culture of Krishna consciousness real? Is it true? Is it something I want more than anything else? One is not meant, Prabhupada didn't want blind followers. He said, I'd rather have less followers who were taking to the process as it is than many, many other followers. In fact, I just read a conversation where he said, if you leaders don't keep to this which I have given you, the preaching process of Krishna consciousness, then there is the threat that this movement will turn into another ritualistic, mechanistic religion, and thus fade away into insignificance. You don't escape this world, achieve Krishna and his eternal service through anything of this world. I love the quote Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur we heard this morning. He said, performing one's duty without any attachment, this is mode of goodness, this is proper intelligence utilized. Doing that, it purifies the mind, the intelligence, and the false ego. But it doesn't purify the soul. Only pure loving devotional service purifies the soul. That's what Krishna is attracted to. That's what captures Krishna. So as before we surrender the Guru, we should be utilizing a symptom of intelligence, Kapila Dev says in the third canto, is doubt. Doubt is a symptom. But once you surrender, then that doubt becomes a demon and you kick it far away. If my guru says it's a snake, throw it down. If he says it's a stick, pick it up. You go outside, see the sun, he tells you it's night, I see the stars in the sky. If he tells you it's night, day, then at nighttime, that moon turns into a sun. Complete acceptance. May not understand, but I understand he is surrendered to Krishna completely and is connected to the disciplic succession. He is motivated simply by the desire to please Krishna. I will follow him wherever he leads me. And to do so, then you cannot be over-intelligent. Prabhupada said, don't be over-intelligent. Accept the instructions as they are. Don't add to them. Don't subtract to them. Don't rationalize. The whole process is perfect. Accept it in its entirety to the degree you're able. It's a gradual process of fully surrendering, but that should be our aspiration. Such an intelligent devotee understands that he is nothing compared to his spiritual master. And I started to say, as Bhakti Siddhanta showed in his own life, he was so intelligent, super intelligent. Srila Prabhupada said, since the time of Jiva Goswami, who was the greatest philosopher on the planet, recognized by professors, etc., etc. He was the most intelligent. And yet when he met his spiritual master, he says, my spiritual master considered that intelligence, that strict moral character that I had, that ability to defeat anyone and everyone in debate, it was rubbish. It was useless. And when he realized, then he has to have something I have no clue about. I want what he has. And of course, that intelligence, that attachment to the, fame and the moral strictness, etc., it was like the touchstone that he threw into the Manasi Ganga. And that Brahman then approached Sanatana and said, give me your most valuable gift. And that's what Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur did. His guru said, you stay with me. Just sit and stay with me, and I will train you. And he chanted and served his spiritual master for a year at least, if not a little more, before returning back to services he had at the Yog Peeth, helping his father spread Krishna consciousness, etc. So, we accept completely we're a fool in front of the spiritual master, a fool in front of our Prabhus. Anyone who is serving the spiritual master is understood to be a Prabhu, is meant to be respected. The higher one advances in Krishna consciousness, the more worshipable you understand your association to be. Sincere, strict devotees. And yet you see Guru speak through them. So, we want to develop our intelligence. It's only through the process of Krishna consciousness. This intelligence will blossom within the mundane, subtle body will be purified as the senses are. We understand that much of sadhana bhakti. The intelligence, the mind will be purified. Kapila Dev once again says that the subtle body will ultimately be burnt to ashes, because it's a subtle body and those material desires that keep us conditioned and bound in this world. Pure bhakti burns it to ashes. Only the pure, unfettered spirit soul, under the shelter of the devotees of Krishna, permanently escape this world. Something that most of us want. So practice and preach, practice and share Krishna consciousness. It really, really helps to continually hear the philosophy and apply it to the best of our ability. I read a letter not that long ago. Attend the morning class, attend the evening class, and find an hour in the day to read. And then so that reading can become alive, utilize the rest of the time in serving Guru, Vaishnavas, and Krishna. If we utilize our time, plug up the gaps where we're not serving Krishna, then that's a good step, a big step in the right direction. Always be engaged. That was the beauty of times before this stupid thing. How much time we spend on this stupid thing. Because as we heard this morning, in this company of pure devotees, there's no talk of 90% of the crap on this thing. There's only no politics. Do I repeat that? Pure devotees, they don't talk about politics. Now, people would go, wait, hold on. It's special times now. It is pretty intense times now in America. But pure devotees, they don't spend their time hearing and chanting about these things. They only talk about Krishna. Everything is related to Krishna. It's not that Prabhupada never talked about politicians or politics. But you have to see the connection. There was certainly a balance there. You don't put more time in this thing than you do in hearing and chanting. Or when hearing and chanting, my advice is put it down, turn it off. I'm convinced without a doubt Srila Prabhupada would instruct us in that way if these things had been. He told Jamuna not to even pick up the pencil to write a note for some service she was going to do in the day when she was asked and answered, did you finish your 16 rounds? No, Srila Prabhupada, he said, put it down. Because if you're pleasing Krishna and Guru, then all the knowledge you need is there. We think we need to depend on Krishna, Guru, nothing else. Not our intelligence, not our abilities. Guru, Vaishnavas, and Krishna. Shastra, the foundation of it all. Even Krishna. He creates according to the Vedas. He descends according to the timeline. Shastra is everything. So I think I'll end there. Are there any questions? Were you listening attentive to catch any mistakes I made today? Thank you, Druid. Would you give him a microphone, please?
You asked early on for ideas of what real intelligence was.
Yeah, please.
And what, of course, the answers were perfect, but I just thought of this verse, it's the first of the four main verses in the Gita. Aham sabasya prabhavo mattak sarvam pravartade iti matva bhajantem Buddha bhamasamannata. Buddha, I am the source of all spiritual material worlds, everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So, as you have Buddha, one who really is intelligent. On the other side, Namam dushkritano Buddha. Those who do not surrender to me are Buddhas. So what are you going to be? Buddha or Buddha? We have to decide. So that's one comment. The other was, this is fascinating, this is the second time I've heard it, about Mr. Prakash and his incredible experience. Because I've been here for 31 years now. I did programs at his home. He would come every time. And he was, I don't know what he was thinking all the time, but he was bowing down.
He's a wonderful congregational member of ours,
and
a friend and devotee.
Yeah. So he has that. And then I was thinking,
he met Srila Prabhupada.
In the instructions of Yamaraj to his dutas, in the sixth canto, this is of course the Ajamil section, and he's explaining, who you should bring to me and who you should not bring to me. So it's a long verse. I won't read the Sanskrit or anything, but what he says is, and what got me was once. He says, even once, my dear servant, please bring to me only those sinful persons who do not use their tongues to chant the holy name and qualities of Krishna, whose hearts do not remember the lotus feet of Krishna even once, and whose heads do not bow down even once before Lord Krishna. Send me those who do not perform their duties toward Vishnu. Now, he was doing that once.
For years and years.
Yeah, years and years. Over the time. So I was thinking. I don't want to speculate. Because certainly it felt like, hey, we're ripping you out. But it may have been a preaching strategy to get him serious about Krishna consciousness. In other words, he definitely had some sort of credit. He wasn't like someone who never chanted Krishna, the name of Krishna, and things like that. Not that we shouldn't be serious. We don't want to take birth again. But, Krishna does say in the Habakrimanashosti, there's no loss or diminution. And you're assured of getting a human body, That's the way Prabhupada explains it. So I'm not going to speculate, but I just did think that this also has to be figured into the whole pastime. It's an incredible thing, and he's become very serious. So anyway.
I really appreciate you contributing that. A preaching strategy I would agree with if you say it's Krishna within his heart, arranging everything in his life for his self-purification and surrender. That was the result. Yeah. Krishna, in that sense, I use this term Krishna, the team super soul. So super soul, he arranges everything in the life of the devotee to progress closer. Like a jam. So we have to, this is a perfect example of how to utilize intelligence. There are no contradictory statements in the Bhakti Shastras. It's saying chant once and you'll never see the Yamadutas. But he chanted for years on end. So how are we to understand that? It's the quality, as Vijay Prabhu said. And that's why I was referring in the very beginning, the sound vibration, it's either material, being chanted by the tongue, or it's spiritual and manifesting on the tongue. There's a huge difference. The pure Vaishnavas who have no desire other than to serve Krishna, period, bas. The names are chanted by them. The names descend upon their tongues, manifest on their tongues. Those persons would never be forced to see the Yamadutas. Us, when we're mixed devotees, I mean, I considered, I'll give you a assignment. Go to Prahlad's teachings on Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. On Smaranam, he talks about, in the purport, five different levels of remembering, and it has everything to do with the mind. If you are always remembering Krishna, you will become most intelligent. Even the purport that to the Tesham Satata Yuktanam verse, Prabhupada explains that even if one is a member of a society, and he is, I wish it would just come right up, and does not? What verse is that? 10 what? 10:10. There it is, 10:10. Person may have a bona fide spiritual master, may be attached to a spiritual organization, okay. Hello. But if he is still not intelligent enough to make progress, that's how I started this class. How can I become intelligent and make it progress? Then Krishna from within gives him instructions so that he may ultimately come to him without difficulty. The qualification is that person always engage himself in Krishna consciousness and with love and devotion render all kinds of services. He should perform some sort of work for Krishna, and that work should be with love. If a devotee is not intelligent enough to make progress on the path of self-realization, but is sincere and devoted to the activities of devotional service, the Lord gives him a chance to make progress and ultimately attain to him. That's our prayer. And we can be optimistic about the fulfillment of that prayer. Very optimistic if we do our best to measure up to what's being said. Let us try and chant attentively, hear properly, and apply. Use some common sense in Krishna consciousness. Any other contributions? Thank you, Dravida Prabhu. Tapas is quiet, so I'll assume no. Those who are, Sandeep says, those who are always full of anxieties due to desiring contact of the senses with their objects and cross the ocean of nescience on a most suitable boat. The chanting, constant chanting of the transcendental activities of Krishna. Thank you, Sandeep Prabhu. Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Harinam ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Samaveda Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki.